The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it? Clobbering time!
I am the face that runs the place.
You need Roman to be out of the main title picture for a little while. You give him a break. This is the only way you're possibly going to get the crowd to do anything but boo him, is give him a break.
I'm the greatest wrestler in the world.
It was exciting to see because it kind of reminded me of Reading Rainbow a little bit.
All he needed was LeVar Burton to come in there.
This would have definitely got a 5-star pay-per-view for me.
Show of the year.
Yeah, show of the year.
This is what he wants, right? He wants to blindside me every week. He wants to cheap shot me every week. Let's do it in the ring face-to-face Sunday. No problem with me. Okay, I'm sick of Samoa Joe. I'm sick of people like Samoa Joe. People that they want to take shortcuts. You want to try to make a name for yourself in WWE at my expense? Hey, no problem. Because as far as I'm concerned, Samoa Joe, nothing more than a corporate stooge. All right? He's got no respect. He's got no honor. And I'm going to treat him as such in the ring Sunday at Fastlane. I'm going to treat him with no respect.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
Welcome, everyone, to Wrestling to the Max, episode 236, part 1. And boy, am I excited because we've got a great show in store for you. Of course, we want to let you guys know if you want to find out all of our content, you need to make sure you go check out W2Mnet.com. That's the place where you can not only find this show, but all the other great shows that we do, like the Raw review, the SmackDown Live review, as well as 205 Live and NXT. Also, make sure you go subscribe to Wrestling to the Max. And if you also want all the other great content that we have to offer, you need to go check out the W2M Network. That's right. Both those, you can go subscribe to one or the other. It doesn't matter, but make sure you go subscribe, because if you want any of our content, whenever it comes out, then it's the best thing to do. Trust me. Sometimes some of our shows are out there and you don't even know about them. Well, you want to have them all. Trust me, it's going to be great. So please go subscribe now. Also, and I'll let you know that, of course, if you want to go find out any way to contact us, we also have a Facebook page that you can go add yourself to. Yeah, that's right. We're just like everybody else. We have a great Facebook page, but ours is really amazing because we have top-notch people that are a part of that. They chat all the time. They're always engaged. So if you want to find a wrestling community, go check out Wrestling to the Max on Facebook. It is an excellent group. Trust me, I wouldn't be singing their praises if it wasn't so awesome. But yeah, I think that's enough of the plugs. Let me tell you what's going to happen on this show tonight, though. Trust me, there is some great quick hits. We're going to be talking about TNA a little bit here. That's right. Impact Wrestling has a new regime in place, and it also means that there's some different things going on with contracts. They're trying to change things up over there with this new anthem look of Impact. Also, you're going to see some faces you've seen on Impact Wrestling for a long time disappearing. Yeah, it's weird to say that, but they're going to be heading off into the sunset. We'll tell you who those names are. And, of course, we want to let you also get into this whole Hall of Fame talk. Who's the newest addition? We're going to get into that. And talk a little New Japan Cup as well. So we've got a lot of stuff when it comes to quick hits. Also, don't forget, we have a little Ring of Honor TV talk as well. They had a show, and we can't wait to talk about that. But, man, I am your host, Gary Vaughan. Of course, with me is Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And sadly, Paul Leazar is not with us, Sean. He is ill. He had a pretty rough day. He kind of said that he's been sick all day long, so he is taking the night off. And
violently sick.
Oof.
You do not want to be doing a show if you're being violent.
Out of both ends, right?
Yeah, out of both ends. And, that's not even not to mention just punching people or anything. He's, feel bad for him. I hope he gets better, and obviously, want to be able to get things back to normal on Tuesday, especially because there was some New Japan ROH shows, The Honor Rising, that we need to cover, and I don't want to be stuck doing that with myself. So
Yeah.
We're gonna put that off till tomorrow, and hopefully get to do its own separate show for that. If not, then we'll do it later, like we've had to do sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah, exactly. And I hope that is, a possibility because, Paul is so great and he adds a lot. So I wanted to definitely have that show and get that one out for the people because Honor Rising is a big deal. It's kind of fun to talk about as well. And, we're going to have to miss him tonight, but I just want to let Paul know, man, get better, whatever it takes. I mean, if you have to take, couple days, just do it, man. You deserve some time off. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited about talking about some wrestling, and there's a lot of great stuff going on in the world of wrestling. But before we get that far along, I just want to say to Sean that, man, I mean, it's amazing the way that time is moving on. We are so close to WrestleMania, closer than I ever expected. February flew by without me even blinking. I mean, it just is gone. And now you're getting up to these summer months and all that stuff, and a lot of things are coming around. And the one thing, though, Sean, that I'm actually talked myself into is taking my daughter to Disney on Ice.
Yeah, I've been to one of those before, way back in the day. And it was a fun event to go to, I think. So, and especially with your kids, they're going to enjoy that more than just you going, as a kid or going with family or whatever. So,
yeah, and the reason I say, you sit here and say, well, how did you have to talk yourself into this? Well, I wasn't sure. I have actually a couple, they're not young, they don't even have kids, and they wanted to go, and they're going to go. But my daughter has been walking around still singing the Frozen song. I know it's been out for a long time, but that's the way the kids are. They still sing the songs for years and years. And so I finally said, you know what, enough of it. I want to have her enjoy herself. I'm going to take her to Disney on Ice. So I just want to throw that out there, man. I'm looking forward to doing some fun stuff this summer, and that'll be one of them. We'll see what happens with all that. So anything going on though with you, Sean? I mean, I know you've been working hard, a lot of things video games wise, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I've got the Oscars on DVR. I didn't get to really watch it. I know there was that big thing at the end, but it's one of those where just, hey, we got a lot going on website wise and everything else. We just went over the first time we had like a official meeting looking at things and stuff, so that's kind of cool. And just looking at things we can do, and of course always looking for people that want to write. So you can either comment on something, whether it's the Facebook group, Wrestling to the Max Facebook group, or go to the WTMnet.com Facebook page and comment there, or on the YouTube page or Spreaker or whatever. You can comment that you're kind of interested, and it doesn't have to be about wrestling. If you've always been one of those that plays games, and you might want to write a game review or just provide other content, or you watch movies regularly and you want to give your thoughts on those, that's available to you as well, or even football or soccer. So I mean, the soccer podcast, we're about to really go forward here because MLS starts on Friday, and we bought the I guess what would be the equivalent of the NFL Game Pass. So it's also $20 cheaper. So, but we did the smart thing that hopefully the three of us as a unit will do with the football is we just paid for it, the three of us together, instead of one person by itself. So, and just like Game Pass lets you watch games you get to watch a game in 20 minutes, and stuff like that. So it doesn't it's not as quick as Game Pass. Like if you something that was on TV, you still need to kind of DVR it because it won't show up for 2 days. Which kind of sucks for us because we do our show on Sunday nights. So, that's when the last games are being played and stuff. So, But still, I mean, it's a cool resource to be able to watch games whenever you need to, or you want to watch something live and you just don't have TV that channel or whatever. So, yeah, like getting to go full force into something like we do for wrestling and for football with, you know, two people that I haven't gotten to do a lot of stuff with is kind of cool. Just getting to the newness of it all and getting to explore how we're going to cover that and everything is fun.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really exciting when you get these new projects and these shows going, and I'm excited for you, man. That's really, really cool. And, you know, like Sean just mentioned, if you're interested at all in writing for a website, especially, you know, one that has a lot of great people to work with, this is the one you want to go do. Or W2Mnet.com has a lot to offer, a great staff, a supportive staff, and, you know, of course, you know, maybe you want to, you know, get started writing. This is the perfect place to do it because you'll have a lot of great people that can teach you and give you a great education on how to be a journalist on the website. So, you know, just go do that if you really are interested, and we hope you are. And one last thing before we jump into wrestling, I just want to say really quickly a very happy birthday to a fellow colleague on W2Mnet.com and, of course, on the Football to the Max show, Randy Isabel. He had his birthday on Monday, and so I just want to throw that out there, man. You know, he's a really cool guy, and he needs to get his some birthday wishes. So,
yeah, for sure.
So. All right, well, Sean, I think it's time to get into some wrestling news. Why don't we go ahead and do it, and let's jump into some quick hits.
All right.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
I love how even without Paul, somehow we still talk 10 minutes about stuff that doesn't have to do with wrestling.
I know. I was just, you know, I you know, maybe one of these days we'll just jump into wrestling, but I think it's kind of fun to kind of give some insight of what's going on with us, you know. One day it's going to be a journal. One day we're going to, like, you know, look back and go to episodes just to find out what the heck was I doing back then.
Yeah, exactly. What was going on? I think in the earlier ones we really didn't do much of this, so it's kind of been a thing we do as, you know, it's been later in the episodes or whatever, in the episode numbers. But, you know, something I forgot to mention, Gary, that I don't know if you guys mentioned it on the Thursday show or whatever, but you know that this week that just passed, they mentioned on Raw, but 3 years now we've had the network officially.
Wow. It doesn't seem like 3 years.
Oh, yeah, it's the 3 year, on the 24th, it was the 3 year anniversary of the network existing. So,
wow. So think about that, Sean. Now, can you imagine a time without the network?
It's 3 years of how great it has been to only pay $10 a month to watch these pay-per-views that we cover, and now with the website that we do roundtables for and everything else, and just, God, imagine if we're still trying to figure out, are we going to pay $60? Or are we going to, well, that's WrestleMania, but are we going to pay, you know, $50? Or are we going to, you know, have to figure out some other way to watch it, and you know, the logistics with that. And it's amazing to be able to, now you can just stream it. And then when you're done, if you whenever we want to do that post show, we can do it. And I love the network. I don't know what, having had a time before where it didn't exist, it's the kids that get to grow up with it now. That's be thankful.
Yeah.
Because there was a time before the streaming age where things were tough and things were expensive, and you had to buy everything. You had to buy those DVDs. You had to have collections of stuff, or you know, in the early days you had to go use those crazy download services and hope you didn't get a virus to download stuff, you know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a positive. I mean, I'm right there with you, Sean. And not only that, you know, now you can have it on your phone. And, you know, let's just say you're out and about and you just can't get home to watch the beginning of the pay-per-view. Or maybe you're taking a road trip and it's Sunday night and you're just really wanting to watch it. Well, now, you know, if you're not driving, you can sit there and watch it. You know, you can you just enjoy yourself, and heck, just do like someone sitting on their couch and watch a show wherever you're at. So I think that's what's really cool. I mean, and not only that, the network has all this other great content that, man, you'd have to search and search and search to go find some of this stuff, and now it's at
Every
your
episode
fingertips.
of Raw, almost every episode of SmackDown. I mean, that's just for starters. I mean, so
It's amazing. I love it. So, hey, yeah, to all the kids out there who don't know what a life without the network is, man, you're so lucky. The only drawback I'll say, and this is kind of a sad thing, is before we had it for these different pay-per-views, you would have to go to a friend's house and chip in $10 each to watch the pay-per-view. And that was fun, to sit around with a group of people and watch it. And people still do it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
and now it's less. Yeah, but, there are people like me who now it's not as convenient to do that. And so I say, well, I would go to the buddy's house and watch it, but, man, I've really got to get home, and then I can watch it on my own time. So I think that's what's kind of taken away from the group experience a little bit. But I encourage people, even though the network is $10, and you can go home and watch it if you have the opportunity. You have a Sunday night free or Saturday night for the NXT shows or Friday night, whenever they do them. Go do it. It just makes that experience a little bit better than just sitting at home by yourself. So
yeah, and we used to go to bars even at some points, and it was just fun getting to be there in that atmosphere with so many different people and getting to see their reactions and everything.
It's it's the sad truth about the way technology's brought us, and that is it's brought us to a great point to where everything's at our fingertips, but that also took away the social aspect of it. So, I encourage
social
people.
aspect in different ways. Now you can just live tweet and have so many people's reactions right there, which that's cool too.
No, that's great. I used the wrong terminology, verbal terminology. I should have said human interaction, socializing.
So physical interaction with people, yeah.
Yeah,
certainly that's a drawback with everything now, So, but yeah, like getting on to actual other things.
Since we're on the WB discussion, I'm going to throw this kind of out of order than we have it, but I do want to throw this out there. If you do have the network, you're going to get a chance to watch the Hall of Fame this year. And they had the next Hall of Famer announced tonight on Monday Night Raw, and that was Beth Phoenix. And we've heard the rumors, right, that Beth Phoenix was going to be the one, but, you always have to wait it out and see. Well, it happened. Beth Phoenix is now going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, right before WrestleMania. So, I mean, Sean, I got to know your thoughts on this. Is she deserving? How do you feel about her getting inducted?
And we talked about this. Look, there's a lot of people that are mad that she got inducted. There was somebody that joked on our page that, they're just letting everybody in now. I've made this point before. Vince is freaking limo drivers in the Hall of Fame at this point. So, let's back off the whole they're letting everybody in thing. The Beth Phoenix deserves to be in. She was a, 3-time women's champion. She's a Divas champion. She, was one of the only women that have been in the Royal Rumble. She, she wrestled at a period where, you had Melinas and Candice Michelles and all those kind of women, the models wrestling, the Kelly Kellys and, or not, I think Kelly Kelly might have been after her, but, this is before Natty was starting to really be recognized, but even then Beth Phoenix carried those late Ruthless Aggression era shows for the women, and you had Chyna sort of be the first glamazon, I guess, and I think that a lot of it is people just really wanted to see Chyna be in before you get Beth Phoenix in, but look, that's a political thing. And you gotta understand that the Hall of Fame is also a political thing. It's who does Vince like right now, and her husband is in there, Edge already. Beth Phoenix is a name that's relatively a bit on the younger side. You could have inducted Ivory or one of the other women that were kind of on that older generation, but they kind of wanted to go with Beth Phoenix, and I don't have a problem with it. She deserves to be in. It feels like most of the crap about why is she there is more about, I think China should have been or somebody else should have been before her. And with WWE Hall of Fame, it really doesn't matter at this point. Like, who cares who got in before who? Because there's still old wrestlers from, like, the early decades that are not in that should be in before anybody else, but they didn't get in. Or they haven't been put in,
We just had one pass, Ivan Koloff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a proven point that, I mean, there are people out there have been deserving for a long time who are not in. This is not just WWE, though. We have to look at the sports world. They do this all the time. Baseball, the NFL. I mean, the NFL has so many guys that, deserve to be a part of it, but yet they have guys that just retired 5-6 years ago and are getting in, and the guys that, in the 70s are still fighting to get their place. And so, I mean, it's really interesting the way these things work, but you're exactly right, Sean. This is all political. This is about thought processes. This is about, who's the flavor right now. Who does Vince really like? Has he been thinking about a certain match with a certain person? Has he had some people nudging him saying, hey, what about this person? So you just don't know what Vince is thinking and all that. But, from my understanding, from listening to Jim Ross says there's people that, have voted in the past. There's people that have done different things, but really it's about Vince. It's all about him, what he wants to do. So I think on the aspect of Beth Phoenix, I think, sure, there are some names that probably deserve to go in before her, but I think eventually she would get in. And I'm okay with it. I have no problems with her career. I think she did fine. She was a champion. She did some first-time things, right? I mean, I think she did the first I don't know if it was no holds barred match. I can't remember. But she
tables match, first
tables
I Quit match.
There's I Quit. That's the one it was. I Quit match. So yeah, so she's had some first, and that's a good thing to go on the resume. So yeah, I mean, all I could say is congratulations to her. I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her husband. I know he's thrilled about this. I mean, so now they're a household of Hall of Famers, and depending on what their kid does, or kids plural. Maybe it's a whole family affair maybe one day. So I think it's cool, and I'm happy for her. She did a great job when she was in the ring, and that's all you can ask for. So, but yeah, I mean, and Sean, does that round out pretty much? Do they have more inducted? The celebrity one, right?
I mean, there's still, I think at one point somebody said that Christian might be one of the people in. That's the only rumored one, I think, at this point that hasn't gotten in.
Mm-hmm. And the celebrity, right? The celebrity one hasn't been announced either.
Yeah, I mean, the celebrity one, it's kind of one of those, all right, let's see what happens. I mean, unless it's going to be one of the, major ones that need to be in, for sure, I really don't care. So, because sometimes they'll just make up some dumb reason, for them to be there. Oh, they did one show 10 years ago, and that's, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to put Hugh Jackman in for the appearance on Raw he did,
Yeah, no. God, that's stretching it, but yeah. But who knows?
For WWE, nothing is a stretch.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very true. But let's move on. Let's move on to some other discussions here that we have. I want to talk some TNA. And I want to start with some of the talent that will be leaving TNA. So we'll go one by one really quickly here. And I think the first one won't take us very long because it's pretty cut and dry. Drew Galloway is officially done with TNA Impact Wrestling. I mean, Sean, I think that he's definitely given, a great opportunity here. He's done a lot, I think, if you ask me, to kind of help progress what's going on with Impact. But I think that he has other things that he wants to do, and I could see where, maybe it doesn't line out for his future. But how do you feel about Drew Galloway leaving?
Drew Galloway was always going to be, it was one of those where you kind of figured he wouldn't re-sign with them, because for a long time we've been hearing about, Drew Galloway, he doesn't want to sign an exclusive deal because then he has to stop doing all the UK stuff, which is kind of what he cares about by now. And so now he has the freedom to book where he wants. He he wouldn't have been able to do the Evolve stuff probably. And then also it looks like, with the way the contracts are changing for TNA, they would have had to give up some of the money for that too, and I don't think he wanted to do that. So I don't blame him. And he was an asset for TNA. He was their grand champion. So now they got to figure out what to do with that, and that's kind of a bummer that they were sort of building him up to be something, but now Drew Galloway has more choices for himself.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I think, like I said before, I think that he's definitely been a great asset to them, but moving on is not such a bad thing for him. I think he has other things in store. And I think his heart has been not just on Impact, it's been on all the independent circuit and, of course, other promotions. And it would not surprise me to see him in another company that's, major. I'm not saying WWE per se, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him in Ring of Honor. It wouldn't even surprise me to see him do other stuff. I know Rev Pros are probably one that, he's going to be heavily involved, things like that. So we'll see. I'm happy for Drew Galloway, though. He was, great for TNA. But, I'm glad you brought up the contract thing. So I do want to jump into that before we jump into the other people that are going to be leaving, okay? And I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to kind of tease that for a second here. But you brought up the contracts. Now, we know that Jeff Jarrett is kind of the COO or COC or whatever he is.
The Chief Creative Officer.
Chief Creator, there you go. Chief Creator Officer. I don't know. But he is, really working hard to, kind of redo what he had put in place, I'm sure, back in the day with TNA. You've got Zeb Coulter, who's leading creative. For the most part. And then, of course, you have some of the other people that have been involved in TNA for a long time. But what they're doing now is they're redoing the contracts. And the reason they're doing this is because I think they felt like, the contracts that the other talent have had in the past have really benefited the talent. But they're going to benefit Impact now. So by doing that, they're going to look at changing some things like how they pay their wrestlers. And for a long time now, they've been paying per episode of it. So if a talent's on a certain episode, they get paid for that. And if those tapings that they do on a Saturday or whenever they do them, if they do 4 tapings, well, that wrestler gets paid 4 times. But now they're going to change that per date. So it's just that day you'll be getting paid 1 time. So that's a big deal for wrestlers. Also, they're telling TNA Impact wrestlers that they have to have approval to go on independent shows. So whatever show they want to go on, they have to make sure that it's okayed by Impact. Also, Impact gets 10% of the revenue they earn on those shows. So it's no longer the whole deal where they were paying part of it and part of it is paying by the indie promotion. Now it's about Impact getting 10%. So this is a big deal, I think, in talent. Sean, kind of tell me what you think. Do you think this has dissuaded people like Drew Galloway to sign?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Why would you want to give somebody 10% of when you work off? Could you imagine if you work 2 jobs and, let's say, your main job says, oh, well, you want to work 2 jobs? Okay, well, you got to give me 10% of your paycheck in order to work that other job. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine that? Oof. That's stupid. That's dumb of you. If you sign a contract like that, you're an idiot. I understand some people they can't help it. They have to work for TNA because they have no other option. But if you're Drew Galloway, no. At some points you're making more money off those indie dates than you are with your TNA contract. So, no, I'm not doing that. That's dumb. And then the paying per episode, the taping that's BS. They're taking more money away from the wrestlers to benefit themselves. And it's just okay, well, let's not make our wrestlers happy or anything. And it's just, look, your number of wrestlers is dwindling. You can make all the deals you want to make with Noah and Crash and everything else, but if no one's watching your product and you don't have any wrestlers that are there at those tapings all the time, you got problems. So you got to be real careful what you're doing here. Look, this is beneficial for Anthem and TNA. And if the whole thing is to save money, that's what you're doing. But for the wrestler standpoint, why would you sign that deal unless you really, really have to?
Yeah, you're totally right. It's a desperation type thing, and that's not the kind of roster I think you want to build here as a roster full of desperate guys. I think you want to build a roster full of high grade talent, and you're not going to get any high grade talent for what you're offering the talent themselves. You're not offering them enough. You're basically saying, we'll use you, we'll pay you, but we're not going to pay you all that much. Oh, and by the way, you owe us money if you do any other work. That's not good. That's not going to really fly with a lot of high grade wrestlers. You can get the younger guys, the guys that don't have a lot of experience, guys that probably aren't getting booked all over the place. Sure, they'll come.
Right.
But, I mean, it's all about, name recognition in wrestling, especially when you're on TV. If you want your
especially
ratings
if you're TNA, you need that name recognition really bad.
Because look at the ratings they get now with the names that they have.
275,000, 300,000. That's better than Lucha Underground and probably ROH. And ROH when ROH was national. But it's like who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
It's awful. It's terrible. And, you need to keep that going. You don't need to lose people and then start having random guys come onto your show and main event your show that no one even knows. It's not going to work. I'm sorry. So this is the thought process going forward. But don't be surprised, and this is just my personal opinion, don't be surprised if they have to revisit this and renegotiate the way they're doing their contracts, because if they're having problems re-signing guys, especially the name guys we're talking about, it's going to be a problem for them. And Jeff Jarrett may think he can do something with very little, but you're going to find out very quickly that it's going to be what he expected, very little. So
right.
I want to talk about a couple of guys, though, that are big on this roster, guys that I feel like have kind of carried TNA for a minute here, and have really been a big deal because everybody around the globe that knows anything about wrestling halfway have been paying attention to the Hardy Boyz. It's because of Broken Matt Hardy, and now with Jeff, the way he's going about things and being a part of
Brother
this.
Nero.
Yes, that's right, Brother Nero. And, Vanguard One and all the other great stuff that they have here. Well, that's going to be going out the door now. Guess what, guys? That's right. The Hardy Boyz are moving on. And I think what we're hearing is that it's because of these contract shenanigans that's going on with TNA. And can you blame them? These guys are making tons of money around the indie circuit. People want them to be there. People are interested in these guys. Heck, even WWE's interested again with these guys. And it's been a while since they've been really kind of thinking about them. That shows a lot. How do you feel about this, about them exiting too?
Well, it looks like they are going to WWE because they shut down their shop, which WWE would make them do because they don't want them having independent shops that WWE doesn't own, because they basically take in all the profits of your merchandise and then they give you a cut. So if you got your own independent thing going on, they're not going to really care for that too much. So, they're closing that down. There's already been rumors. There's been, Matt talking to different, WWE wrestlers on Twitter, and now he's talking about he wants to delete all the WWE teams and everything else. I would assume that they would wind up on Raw because of the, being named talent, but this is really interesting as far as what they're going to do now, because obviously could they even come with a broken gimmick to WWE? Would TNA try to follow suit on that? And if they do, would WWE consider splitting them up even? Because, for WWE, Jeff as a single star is even more marketable at times than Matt and Jeff together as the Hardys. And then for TNA, this is bad. You're losing one of your biggest stars, and then all due to contract stuff. They were due to sign in December. They didn't, after all the changes in the front office and everything. And then, like, just, okay, well, now your biggest star is Lashley, and to your credit, TNA, you have made a really great job of Lashley. You've done a great job of making him look dominant, making him look, you know, hugely important and everything else. But, you know, as far as casual fans watching, those stars are gone now.
Yeah, and that's, you know, rough. I mean, that's a big part of this is the fact that, you know, those big names are leaving, and they've already had so many leave. Now you're losing even more. This is a leak. I mean, this is a major leak because now the bottom of the...
Matt's already announced officially that he's gone. Jeff hasn't said anything, but Matt has.
But still, Matt is the major part of this. I mean, sure... Jeff will be fine. Let's just say, just to say what could happen. Maybe Jeff stays. That's great, and of course he's a big name on Impact. But I mean, Broken Matt Hardy has been the biggest part of that show. He has actually outshined Jeff Hardy, which is very hard to do. It's been kind of the first time in his career that he's done it.
Yeah.
Jeff has always been the guy that people look at. So now, I mean, that leak that I was just talking about in the bottom of this boat called Impact Wrestling is growing. And pretty soon that ship is going to start to kind of go underwater a little bit, even more now with one of the biggest pieces of this whole ship going, you know. So I think it's, you know, great for WWE if they get him, but I'm like you. I have my fears because I love Broken Matt Hardy, and I kind of wish that they would re-sign with TNA only because I can keep getting this great content, the comedy, all the stuff that you know that they're not going to be able to do on WWE. But on the flip side of that, TNA, man, they're not going to be fair with them. I don't blame him at all. I don't blame Matt. I have a feeling, though, and I've heard Jeff and Matt talk about this a little bit, and this is probably months ago that they said this, but they said that they were going to have a lot of say. Wherever they go, they're going to have more say. They're not just going to take any deal.
Right now, the way that Matt has been able to prove to finally be a star outside of, you know, and by himself, because that was always the problem, right? He went to ROH and he did some decent things and whatever, but Matt was always the one that they couldn't get him over as a single star. He needed the Hardy Boyz in order to be sort of relevant. And, I mean, he had that moment with the feud with the Edge, but that got killed really quickly and everything. So, like, that's what he's been able to do. He proved with the gimmick that, I can be a singles guy. I can be somebody. You know, you got WWE crowds chanting delete, 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 you know, whatever. So, I think Matt is now on par with Jeff if he gets to the broken gimmick. If he just comes back as Matt Hardy now in WWE, I don't know. I don't know if they ever separate him. It's gonna obviously be all Jeff again.
Yeah, exactly. You can. I'm sorry to say this, but let's just say at WrestleMania 33 we have the surprise entrance of Matt Hardy. Let's just say it. If it's Matt Hardy, version 1, whatever you want to say, no one cares. Yeah, he'll get a pop. It's WrestleMania. He'll get a pop. But no one's going to care.
But everybody will be waiting about, where's Jeff? You know?
Well, they'll be exactly. Now, let's just say he walks in with a broken gimmick. Well, they'll wonder where's Jeff, but they'll just be so happy to see the broken gimmick, they will be freaking out how awesome this is.
Right.
So the gimmick, to me, sells the whole package. You don't have one without the other. You can't do it right now. And unless you have Jeff on his side, you just can't do it. Now, if you bring in just the Hardys, that's memorable. We all remember the Hardys. We loved them. We'll still will. But, yeah, that's just my personal opinion. I have my fears. But I really do think WWE is going to let him do some of the stuff. And I think that, if I'm not wrong, Matt actually owns quite a bit of what he's been doing. He's been working really hard to make sure it's his. But TNA still will have a chance to, I'm sure,
I'm sure TNA will try to do something about it. But
yeah, but who knows? But yeah, I mean, let's move on really quickly, and we are going to talk about one other thing. But before we jump in, I do want to note we're talking WrestleMania 33. One of the big matches that we were talking about for a long time now is not going to happen. Shaq has revealed that his match against Big Show will not be taking place at WrestleMania 33. I mean, this wasn't the biggest excitement in the world. It was interesting. I think we were all kind of curious to see how it would go down, but I mean, Honestly, Sean, I'm not really crying. I'm not losing any sleep over this.
Yeah, I mean, Big Show's going to be in the Battle Royal again for another year, which kind of sucks for him. You wonder how many years he's got really left doing this. There is a slight chance that it could happen, but it seems very unlikely now at this point, and so that kind of sucks. It always is kind of to have Big Show in those spectacle matches is kind of cool, but it is what it is. Like I said.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get into quick hits, I want to mention one more thing, and Sean's going to kind of talk a little bit about this more than I will because he has been kind of paying attention more closely to it. But the New Japan Cup has been announced, and all the brackets are in place. Sean, did you kind of want to tell the people a little bit about this?
Yeah. So, of course, New Japan Cup takes place over 2 days as far as the quarterfinals go. Then they do another 4 days for the semifinals, and then they do the quarterfinals, and then they do that round of 16. They have 16 guys. Then they do the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and then they do that all in 1 day, and then they do the final on the 20th. So from March 11th to the 20th, you're going to have New Japan Cup. Of course, we'll cover it for you here on the podcast, and we'll try to do our best to cover it for you on the website as well. We'll have a roundtable preview. I don't know other than that what we'll do. But so going from left to right here, the 8 matches that you're gonna have to determine which of the 16 guys is going on. You've got Hiroshi Tanahashi and Evil of Los Ingobernables. You have Tomoaki Honma against Tonga Loa, which, oh Lord, I can't wait for that thing to stink up the joint. Michael Elgin might get a pretty good match out of Bad Luck Fale, and then you got Yano Toru against, Toru Yano, against Tama Tonga. Well, that could be pretty decent. Then you go over to the right side of the bracket. You have a Juice Robinson against Yujiro. Yeah, but then you got 3 fantastic matches here. You got Yoshihashi and Sonata getting to renew their rivalry that they had for a major part of last year. And then you get Tomohiro Ishii and Kenny Omega. Oh my God, that's going to be amazing. And then you get Katsuri Shibata and Minoru Suzuki. Oh, Lord, the beatings they're going to put on each other. A nice way to die for those guys. So, I'm not going to make predictions here. We'll do that a little bit later as it gets closer, but those are your matches that we know. Of course, if you look at the brackets, you could try to decide who goes where and whatever. But this is fun. It's a nice little little prelude to March Madness, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And this is always fun. New Japan Cup is a blast to talk about and to kind of break down the bracket, kind of figure out what you think is going to happen and see how it all falls in place. So we're looking forward to doing that, and getting into that. Like Sean said, we'll be doing that closer to time and, just be looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much wraps up all we have for you for this episode for Quick Hits. Now, we have one more thing to do before we get out of here tonight, and that is talk some Ring of Honor. And I do want to apologize to everybody who usually listens to our show for Ring of Honor. Paul does such an eloquent job of breaking down the show. I'm going to do my best. But he, usually is the guy that does all the Ring of Honor. He actually does, all the writing of the whole review and all that. So now it'll be my turn tonight to try to do it. So forgive me if I'm not as good as Paul, but we'll be right back, everyone, with some Ring of Honor talk. All right. Well, so let's talk about the fact that we start this show out, and we do have Kevin Kelly, of course. Alongside him is Bobby Fish. And why is Bobby Fish at ringside? Well, guess why. It's because Christopher Daniels is going to be the first face you get a chance to see step into that ring, and he starts talking about his opportunities, kind of goes back in time, talking about, he's had so much success. He kind of gives some love to Ring of Honor itself. and gets into the conversation about the fact that he's going to have the opportunity to face off against either Adam Cole or Bobby Fish at the 15th anniversary show to see if he can get back into the picture of being a world title holder for Ring of Honor. But, of course, that brings out Adam Cole, who comes out and just kind of tells him, really, you're old. And you don't even, belong in my, game. You're not even a part of this. You're just
champion forever.
Yeah.
Baby.
Which I love. That was so special because he's like, I'll be forever. But yeah. So outside of all that, all the talking,
forever until you leave for WWE.
Yeah, trust me, it wouldn't shock me if that was soon. Yeah, so they kind of do their chit-chatting here, but what we get is Hangman Page jumps in the ring and attacks Christopher Daniels. Of course, that means that you're going to have, looks like Bullet Club surrounding Daniels, but here comes Kazarian to even out the score. And that leads into us getting into a tag match. And, these two teams have a pretty decent match here. We've seen, similar things before. But the Addiction and Bullet Club do battle, and the Bullet Club do win with Adam Cole rolling up Daniels. So, Sean, this is something that, is interesting because, we're kind of having the Bullet Club thing mixed in with what's going on with Daniels. And we're also seeing, maybe not dissension, but, following this, later on, we do see Kazarian basically talking to Christopher Daniels and saying, look, I support you. I'm behind you 100%. But you have to realize that, what you're doing here, you need to, not let Adam Cole be in your head. You got Adam Cole in your head. That's why we lost the match. And not only that, it's not always about you. I'm involved in this too. So I'm kind of curious about that as well. We kind of have a little bit of a spat here between the Addiction.
Yeah, kind of throwing the seeds for perhaps a breakup for these guys. With Christopher Daniels kind of be more concerned with the singles run that he's getting. You can kind of understand that his focus is not totally there for the tag team, and Kazarian doesn't like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. And, I will say this, too. We have Bobby Fish at ringside. Of course, throughout this entire match, he's just talking and talking. He makes himself very well known in this match, I want to say that. He even cuts a promo at times, Yeah, he cuts a promo at the end of the match itself and just starts talking about himself and how he's going to be the Ring of Honor champion and all that, which is, understandable. This guy is got a lot of energy. He's kind of in the boat of Daniels a little bit. He's an older guy. He's not a spring chicken. So, he has a lot to say about this. He has a lot in store for what he thinks is going to be taking place. So, I think that leads us into a great opportunity to still pump up this match between Bobby Fish and Adam Cole before we actually get to the 15th anniversary show where Christopher Daniels will be in the main event. So I think they did a good job here. I was appreciative of what they brought to the table. So we means we're going to move on from here, and we do need to talk about the Top Prospect Tournament. Now, this is a tournament that they do every year. This is the 2017 edition, and the first, grouping here we get John Skyler facing off against a guy named Sean Carr. And just to let people know, if you've not seen this episode, or maybe you're kind of wanting a little bit more description, Skyler's more of a big man type wrestler, more of a power guy, and Sean Carr is more of your light heavyweight. Got a lot more moves when it comes to flippies and things like that. But for the most part, both these guys are pretty well grounded in this match. And this is a decent match, Sean. This is one that, these young guys, it's not exactly as crisp as you may want. You have to realize, these guys are young. But in the end, we do have the bigger man win. Skyler does take, the victory here. Which I think it's kind of funny because they use his finisher, and his finisher is called the Southern Salvation, which is basically a fireman's carry, does the roll, and off the top corner rope. So I thought, okay, that's kind of an interesting name, Southern Salvation. But did you get a chance to really check this out?
This I really didn't, but Sean Carr losing to John Scott in the first round kind of was weird. I thought Sean Carr would go a little bit further, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. And, once again, I mean, we've seen the Top Prospect Tournament. They're fun to watch, but sometimes you get these matches that are, then you get the matches that are like, oh my God, I want to watch that again. Right. This is one of the ones, whatever. But we'll see. Skyler may improve us later on, and Sean Carr, I mean, he's still in the picture somewhere. The Kingdom also get their chance to kind of cut their own promo, doing their normal shtick, right? They're the best. They're proving it to people and all that stuff. So really nothing new there. But we are going to talk about something else that kind of happened interesting, and this also, involves what's going on with, Ring of Honor right now. And so the Tempura boys come out, and they're expecting to face off against the Motor City Machine Guns. But, guess what? They're nowhere to be found. So, Tempura boys are just kind of standing out there, and come to find out off camera, trust me, they don't even show off camera. They don't even show these guys, backstage. But Kevin Kelly's kind of saying, "Oh, what, can we show anything? No. They're basically, we're supposed to know that they're beat up. So that match does not happen."
I think they have the other guy doing commentary
for
this show. It's Ian McBoney.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, he was out there basically saying all that. They're off the camera, whatever. So anyway, this is kind of what it comes down to is, we're seeing, this whole feud go down with the Motor Machine Guns and, of course, the other group. So, the other group being, of course, the guys, I'm blanking on their names right now, but these guys, are involved in, making sure that they take over TNA. Of course, if you want to know who exactly they are, the former, cabinet. I forget the name of their...
the Revolution or whatever.
Yes, the Revolution. There you go. I don't know why I didn't write it down in my notes here.
The All Night Express guys.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, and what's his face? Why can't I remember his name now?
I know.
Caprice Coleman.
Yes,
Caprice Coleman and Red Titus and Kenny King. Yeah.
The former cabinet, but yeah, they're calling themselves the Revolution now. But they've been trying to get Leo Rush and of course some of these other guys involved, and that's what they're trying to do, but they're unsuccessful. So they attacked the Motor City Machine Gunners. Didn't work out too well for them down in the end. So we move on past that though. That was kind of an okay part of the show, but nothing super spectacular. Let's get to the main event here though. We got Donovan Dijak facing off against Marty Scurll. And, this is a pretty decent match here. Scurll, is very tactical. Dijak uses his power like always. I think we get a good back and forth here. I really kind of enjoyed this match. I do also want to say this. There's parts of this that are kind of fun to watch, especially for the fact that before, this all started, we had, Marty Scurll kick Dijak's hand away when they were going to do the handshake. And later on, Dijak gets him down and, tries to shake his hand and says, "Now do you respect me? Now do you respect who I am?" And of course, Marty Scurll does the whole breaking his fingers move. And so now you've got Dijak with an injured hand. And I love that Scurll stands on his hand and beats him, punches him. It's just one of those moments. It's like, man, this is just so good. And it just shows who Marty Scurll is. Dijak does overcome that to an extent and does try to come back. But in the end, he does not win. The chicken wing is applied, and he, of course, Marty Scurll, the technician that he is, he does use the hand that is injured to cause the tap out. 1, 2, 3, and Marty Scurll is still your television champion. So that's what's kind of fun here. I think this is a good match, and not only that, Donovan Dijak, of course, now has moved on past Ring of Honor. So, but yeah, Sean, unless you have anything else to say.
No.
Yeah, that is Ring of Honor for us tonight. So, of course, I apologize once again. This is, of course, Paul's thing. I'm just trying to cover. We covered this show, and it was a good show. It was interesting. So, trust me, if you have an opportunity and you have not seen this show, just go to the Fight app. It's right there for your viewing pleasure. But yeah, we are done tonight. We appreciate everyone who's come and check out the show. Of course, we want to let you guys know once again, don't forget The W2M Network is a place where you go find all our shows. You can go subscribe now, whether you use iTunes or Stitcher. You can subscribe there. Of course, if you just want us, our content, what we have to offer, just go search out Wrestling to the Max and go subscribe to that channel. That'll get you, once again, everything that we have. Also, W2Mnet.com. Go check it out now. Not only just written reviews, but our podcasts are always there for you to listen to as well if you just want to go online and listen to our content. Also, it's easy for you to share with your friends, right? And maybe you just want people to know about the shows and what we're doing. Hey, that's great. Make sure you just send them that way to W2Mnet.com. They can find out everything about us. Of course, there's lots of great stuff there. So please go do that now. And, once again, we hope that, Paul feels better. Hope he gets, a lot better. And hopefully we'll have him on for our SmackDown Live and, of course, 205 Live reviews. But, Sean, before we get out of here, anything you want to say about the network? Anything else you want to get into?
Well, as long as Paul's okay, we should have a Honor Rising review show as well. And then we will, all the other shows did their thing. Sorry we missed on the video game show, but we should have one on Wednesday, and then perhaps one again on the weekend to kind of examine with the Nintendo Switch coming out now on Friday. Get to examine the after effects of launch day and how that was and everything else. And so, but again, soccer podcast. We did our season preview for Major League Soccer, so you can check that out. And of course, the big trade that happened and other things that are going on. And you can also listen to pretty much everything else had a show. I think Fox and Squid had a show. Running Wild had a show. Wrestling Unwrapped had to miss because Patrick was sick. But, for the most part, that's fine. The website, we should have roundtables for both the New Japan Anniversary show that happens this weekend, or is it on Monday? I think it's on Monday. And then, of course, Fastlane as well. We'll have a roundtable for that as well on the website. And then we'll also, we'll continue to put up, video game reviews and other things throughout the week, podcasts and whatnot. So, and we've also made a new deal with Radisson Broadcasting. It used to be just a website deal, but really because I would forget to put them on the website because I'd have to go to their feed, grab a player for them, put it into the site, do all the stuff. We're now made a deal where we get to bring a lot of their entertainment shows, and they do some great work, let me tell you, over to the WTM Network. So you'll get, if you like metal music, you get to hear one of our great friends, Robert Cooper, talk about some of his favorite metal artists, along with some other guys. They review metal album every week. There's a movie podcast where they review movies, a TV show podcast where they review TV shows. They pretty much almost something that has to do with entertainment is covered in one of their podcasts. So, I will try to upload those as quick as I can when they come out. There's a comic book podcast where they talk about a certain comic book series as well, called Source Material. So they have a lot of that stuff covered. So, it's something that we don't get to really do. We cover some entertainment stuff on the video game podcast, and we talk about it on here. But, it's really cool. You should really definitely check those out when they can become available and get their thoughts on things.
Yeah, for sure. And that's exciting. And, we want you guys to make sure you go check that out. So, it is super awesome. This is a big deal for us, and we're excited to have those guys aboard. But yeah, also please don't forget, people, we have a part 2 of this show, which will be Friday morning on the download for everyone. You don't want to miss it. We're going to have our Fastlane Fastlane preview and a lot more great content. Of course, all the other wrestling news of this week. So until that time, guys, we will catch you guys down the road.
Later, everybody.
The The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.